Is hypnosis fake, or can it really change your life? Let's find out. So I went to this exclusive business networking group a while back, and I remember there was a small group, a few of us that got together, and we were going around introducing ourselves. And one of the guys said, yeah, I run a hedge fund. Another guy said, yeah, I own a big real estate company. And they kind of came around and they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a celebrity hypnotist. And they're like, hypnosis? And one of the guys started laughing. He says, that crap doesn't work. And I showed them the results, and they weren't laughing anymore. In fact, a couple of the guys came up to me quietly afterwards and asked for my number because they had some issues they wanted to get handled. Hypnosis is not what most people think of it as. It's not from these movies that Hollywood makes, like with Ben Affleck, Hypnotic, where the bad guy can just hypnotize people and make them think whatever they want. That'd be cool, right? If I could do that, I would already own my own island and I would rule the world. But it doesn't work that way. Hypnosis is a focused state of mind. It's just simply learning how to use the power that's already inside of you to your advantage. When I first learned how to use a Mac computer, it was a very powerful piece of equipment, but I didn't know how to work the operating system. I didn't know the shortcuts. I didn't know how to get the most out of it. Over time, I learned, and now I can use that Mac to do all kinds of amazing stuff. I didn't know how to use my mind in the same way, and I found that most people don't either, right? Like, your brain is incredibly powerful, and there's all kinds of shortcuts and hacks and ways that you can retrain your brain for success that most people don't know about. Even therapists, even psychiatrists don't seem to know how to use the power of your mind in the way that you could. And so that became my specialty. It became my obsession. And I facilitated 16,000 sessions. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of how hypnosis is so powerful and how it can transform people immediately. This is what I showed the others, and I'm going to show it to you as well. Because once you start to realize how powerful this is, then people start thinking, well, will it work for me? And the answer is yes. In fact, some of my most successful clients always, started out as skeptical, saying, I don't know, I don't think that I'm too stubborn, or I'm too thick-willed, or I'm too, someone once told me I'm too weak-minded, right? Or I can't concentrate, or my ADD, or my OCD, or my whatever label you give yourself or others have given you. We feel like it's not going to work for us because of that. And I find that as soon as someone tells me it's not going to work, it seems to work twice as well for them. I'm not sure why. When you turn on a light switch, you don't have to understand how electricity works. You don't have to even believe in electricity. But when you turn that switch on, the light's going to come on because the electricity is there and it works. And the power, the potential is inside of you. You just got to turn it on. You just got to plug in the right way. And so here's an example. So I was watching news one day, a news program, and the weatherman, in the middle of his forecasting the weather for that day, I guess the next bit was going to be, they were going to talk about spiders for some reason and tarantulas. Maybe there was a reptile fair or something. I'm not sure why. But anyway, Jim, the weatherman, the meteorologist, was deathly afraid of spiders. And so when they brought the spider in, he's in the middle of doing this weather report, and he sees a spider over there, and he has a full-blown panic attack, because he has this huge phobia and irrational fear of spiders. He sees that spider, and he just runs out in the middle of live TV. He just runs out in the studio. And everybody's like, oh, I guess Jim's afraid of spiders, right? And so then, of course, the local disc jockeys, everybody on radio, they were making fun of him. And so I called up the studio and I got a hold of the producer and I said, you know what? I can turn Jim into a hero. And if you just give me like an hour with him, I could probably get that spider on his arm. He could be sitting there with the spider on his arm and be the hero, right? And I didn't get a call back for a couple of months. But 3 months later, phone rings, hello. And it's the producer of the show. And she said, I got to tell you, when you told me you were going to put that spider on his arm, I thought you were ridiculous. And, but I've been looking at your testimonials and I still don't think you could get that spider on his arm. But Jim has agreed that if you could hypnotize him on air and then we could put him in front of that spider and he could just stand by it without running out, that would be a huge victory. Do you think you could do that? And I was like, yes. And so here's what happened next.
Of our friend Jim in our little meeting room here undergoing hypnosis to see if he can overcome his fear of spiders.
It's going to crawl right on your arm and you're going to be fine, okay? It's going to crawl right on your arm and you're going to be fine. It's going to crawl right on your arm and then I'm going to put it on your arm and then I'm going to put it right back on mine, okay? Right back on mine, okay? Take your breath in Good. Take
Wow.
your picture. Okay. Now right back on mine. Yeah, that's right.
Jim, we're proud of you.
Yeah, congratulations, Jim. Congratulations. That was awesome. So that's how fast you can change a spider phobia. You can shift it lightning fast. And you can do that with any kind of phobia there is. I've helped people with afraid of every kind of, it doesn't really matter what it is, just fill in the blank. And I've probably helped people from someone had a fear of frogs, fear of germs, fear of flying, fear of driving over bridges, fear of driving, on highways, agoraphobia, fear of leaving the house, all kinds of fears that we have. And so you can do that really quickly once you know how. The second thing that, someone said one time is that it's impossible to change your body with hypnosis. And I said, no, it isn't. You can change your body using hypnosis in the same way. If you upgrade those unconscious beliefs and you use pain and pleasure in the right way, you retrain your brain to associate pleasure to healthy activities. You can do amazing things with healing your body. And so it reminds me of Kathleen. Kathleen came into me and she was just about 300 pounds. And she sat down on my chair and she started crying and she said, I know I can't lose weight. It's impossible for me. Nothing has worked. I've even tried hypnosis in the past and it hasn't worked for me. And so can you just make me a happy fat person? And I knew that that's not what she wanted. She really wanted to transform her body, but she didn't know how. So we used the hypnosis to upgrade her beliefs because she had a belief in her mind that she wasn't worthy of being taken care of. And so it didn't matter how much weight she lost or how well she ate or how much she exercised, because eventually her brain was going to sabotage all of that because she didn't believe she deserved to have the results. So every time she started getting the results, her brain said, nope, 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 we can't do that. And it would cause her to go right back to what she was doing before, right? People would say, oh, you're sabotaging yourself. Or Dr. Phil would say, you just don't want it bad enough. You need to get real. You want to be fat. And that is ridiculous, right? That's terrible advice. So the real problem is that she had unconscious beliefs that people were not aware of, including her, that were sabotaging her ability to get results and keep them. And this is what happened next.
I just felt like I was dying inside. I was so sad all the time. From my first session, I knew that I was on the right track and that I was going to have results, lasting results. It is nothing short of miraculous. For so long thinking I was a bad person. I didn't deserve the good things in life. And so I would eat to comfort myself. There was a transformation that occurred inside of me to where food was no longer the reward. The effort I was putting into my new lifestyle was in fact the reward.
That's an amazing story. And people say, all right, you can get rid of phobias and you can help people transform their body. But my problem is I'm always broke. Or my problem is that I've made money, but I can't get it to the next level. Or my problem is that I feel financially stuck for some reason. And I don't know why, because I've made this $1 million business and I made this $1 million business, but I just seem like stuck or blocked when it comes to this next venture that I have. And it's really important to me. And so I'm like, well, we can change that too. Right? Because your mind is powerful. It's unlimited. Like my friend Joe Vitale says, you want to be a zero limits kind of person because that potential is inside of you. So in fact, check out the movie Zero Limits that Joe and I are both in. So when you upgrade the beliefs around money, which, boy, do we have a lot of limiting beliefs around money. When you upgrade those beliefs, it's pretty amazing what happens. So Joe came to me and he was worked for a national company and he was in sales and he felt like he couldn't sell anything. He was having such a hard time. And as we dove in a little bit more, we found that he had these beliefs that he didn't want to be pushy. He never wanted to come across aggressive because his father was an aggressive person and he didn't want to be like his dad. So he had this belief that you can't ask for the sale because that's pushy. You can't be assertive because that might be seen as aggressive. So he was literally never asking for the sale, even though he was great at his job. Even though his customers loved him, he wouldn't ask for the sale. He would sabotage himself. He would have big opportunities and somehow mess it up because he was just afraid of showing up. He was always holding back and being timid. So we went and we upgraded those beliefs. And within the next couple of years, He went from not selling anything to selling $1 million. And then he smashed all his sales records in this national company and became their number one salesperson. And then over the next couple of years, he sold something like $54 million in products and services. Here's what happened with Joe.
Years before, I've struggled with sales. Last year, I crushed it with over 200% of plan and won just about every single trophy in our sales department.
I sold $46.5 million.
That's what you have to look forward to. So again, you can see that these are regular people who are having extraordinary breakthroughs because they've learned how to use the power of their mind to create their life by design. And I always say that you're one belief away from having a huge breakthrough because every one of those people that I shared with you had a belief that was holding them back, that they were out of control, that they were not safe, that they were not good enough to be able to handle their business, whatever it may be. And we went and we upgraded that belief. Now it's true, you might be a couple beliefs away from having your next big breakthrough, but still, when you understand how your mind works and you understand how to use the full power of your mind, then you can upgrade those beliefs, which immediately upgrades your life. You don't have to start talking yourself into these breakthroughs. You don't have to use a bunch of positive thinking and affirmations every day. It's fun to create vision boards, but you don't have to be doing all these extra activities to try to, convince yourself, because when you upgrade using our one belief away hypnosis method, you already believe it. You're showing up with a new way of being, and that creates a new way of thinking, which creates a new way of feeling, a new way of behaving, a new way of taking action, and that produces a new level of result. And that's how it works. If you'd like to learn more or read more stories so that you can start to realize that, yes, this will work for you too, then click the link below, head over to obahypnosis.com/testimonials and start reading those until you know that this is going to work for you. And then you can enjoy some of our programs, or if you want fastest results, then call and schedule a free 15-minute hypnosis consultation, and we will chat with you about your goals, give you some options for achieving them very quickly so that you can live your best life now. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.